Good morning, I'm Will Reeve.
And I'm Janae Norman. Here are the top 5 things to know this Monday. Number 1, President Trump's state visit to the UK is getting underway this morning, marked by pageantry, protest, and controversy. He's meeting with the Queen and other royal family members after calling Duchess Meghan Markle nasty.
He's already weighed in on Brexit and his choice for the next prime minister. And number 2, Iran's foreign minister accusing the United States of economic terrorism, saying the sanctions imposed by the Trump administration are targeting ordinary people.
Iran is not backing down despite the economic decline 1 year after President Trump withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the so-called maximum pressure policy will be in place until Iran changes its behavior.
But the foreign minister told ABC's Martha Raddatz Iran will not be forced into talks, and he denied allegations that Iran attacked oil tankers in the Gulf.
And if they show some sort of intelligence about the sabotage of those tankers,
let them do it.
Would you not believe that?
Let them do it. I mean, Photoshop is always a possibility.
The foreign minister said President Trump's tactics may work in a real estate market, but will not work with Iran.
On to number 3 now, and 2 arrests in the case of a missing mother from Connecticut.
Jennifer Doulos, the mother of 5 children, hasn't been seen for 10 days. Her estranged husband, Fotis Doulos, and his girlfriend, Michelle Troconis, were taken into custody. They're charged with fabricating or tampering with physical evidence and hindering prosecution in the case.
Officials say the 2 could face additional charges as the search for Jennifer Doulos continues. The most recent search for Doulos focused on a mansion built by her estranged husband's company.
Number 4, the NBA Finals, heading back to the U.S., tied at 1 game apiece.
Golden State used an 18-0 run in the third quarter to grab the lead and held on to beat Toronto 109-104. The series now shifts to Oakland for games 3 and 4 starting Wednesday night.
And one American guest got some love from the Canadian fans. Former President Barack Obama getting a standing O.
In a leather jacket and all. And finally, number 5. We don't exactly recommend this, but a new study finds drinking up to 25 cups of coffee each day isn't so bad for your heart after all.
I will try that out. Previous studies suggesting coffee stiffens the arteries, increasing the risk for a heart attack or stroke. But the new research found that drinking up to 25 cups per day was no worse for the arteries than drinking less than 1.
So much more to talk about, so much coffee to drink.
Yeah, it's morning, America.
"25 cups of coffee. How many have you had this morning?
Oh, 4, but I'm not sure if that's enough.
4?
To be totally honest.
I mean, I've only had 1, but it was an extra large, so it was probably like 178 ounces.
That's a lot.
So, how many cups do you drink? Tell us in the comments or tweet us at ABC News Live. How many cups of coffee does it take you to get through the day? But in the meantime, we'll get to the big story. President Trump and the First Lady getting a ceremonial welcome by the royal family at Buckingham Palace in London. ABC's Julia McFarlane is there following the state visit. Julia, good morning.
Good morning, Janae. Today is the main day of the state visit. Today is all about royal events, and it is painstakingly choreographed. Now, President Trump participating in a welcome ceremony at Buckingham Palace with the Queen and her husband, Prince Philip. They are shortly about to have a private lunch in Buckingham Palace, and then later on in the afternoon, some events for President Trump and the First Lady, including a guided tour of Westminster Abbey. And then he's going to have tea at Clarence House with the future King, Prince Charles, and his wife, the Duchess of Cornwall. All this ahead of that lavish state banquet in Buckingham Palace, full of American and British dignitaries, and the President and the Queen will both be making speeches. Now, today is all about pageantry, and this is something that matters hugely to the President. This is going to put a sheen on his presidency, and this is something that he has wanted for a very, very long time.
But I think we'll see the images today of this positive reception of the crowds this morning. I think there's going to be a contrast with the scenes we have tomorrow.
Of course, there has been a little bit of controversy. President Trump making some comments about the Duchess of Sussex, Meghan, and as he landed in London early this morning, engaging into a bit of a spat with the City of London's mayor because of comments that the mayor has made, and of course for allowing big protests, which we are expecting tomorrow. Janae?
All right, a big thanks to Julia.
And President Trump's state visit comes at a critical time for the UK government as Prime Minister Theresa May is set to step down this week, and the president is voicing his opinion on who should replace her. ABC's Brad Mielke has more. Brad?
Hey guys, that's right. President Trump is on your guys' early morning schedule, and his red-eye flight is putting him right into the middle of political chaos this morning in London. You see, when this state visit was announced, meetings with the Queen, the Prince, the Prime Minister, there were massive protests in London. So we knew this could be wild. Well, then May happened, by which I mean the Prime Minister, Theresa May, announcing her resignation. I spoke to ABC senior national correspondent Terry Moran, who's in London, and he said President Trump is already being called a kingmaker, a prime minister maker in the country's power struggle.
The politics of this country, President Trump just wading in. The Prime Minister, Theresa May, has resigned. She could not get this Brexit deal done. President Trump has already kind of butted in and said, well, you should pick this guy, this Boris Johnson guy, who's sometimes called the British Trump, the former foreign secretary. And he said, if you have to, go for no deal, just crash out of the European Union. But there's a link between the controversy and Brexit, which is that as Britain leaves the European Union, they need the United States and Donald Trump more than ever.
And you're going to see massive protests today. But don't be fooled. While a lot of people in London might not like President Trump, London did not vote for Brexit. A lot of the rest of England did, and many of those voters are huge President Trump fans. We will preview this visit on Start Here later this morning. Listen on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcasting app. Janae, Will?
As one international trip begins, the controversy from President Trump's recent trip to Japan just won't go away. And now the Pentagon is warning the White House not to politicize the military. That message coming from acting Defense Secretary Patrick Shanahan after he learned about a White House directive to make sure the USS John McCain was hidden from view during President Trump's recent visit to Japan. Shanahan said the directive was not carried out, and the White House is suggesting that the request wasn't a big deal.
The fact that some 23 or 24-year-old person on the advance team went to that site and said, oh, my goodness, there's the John McCain. We all know how the president feels about the former senator. Maybe that's not the best backdrop. Can somebody look into moving it? That's not an unreasonable thing to
Seriously?
ask. It's not.
Shanahan said a tarp covering the McCain name was there for maintenance but removed before the president arrived. He also said he spoke with McCain's widow, Cindy, but offered no details on their conversation.
And Texas has taken a stand against controversial red light cameras. The governor has signed a bill that bans them. Critics have argued that red light cameras are just plain unconstitutional. They violate the driver's due process rights, while supporters argue the cameras make the roads safer and they generate some much-needed cash for cities and towns.
Now to some shocking new details this morning about a teenage girl who was attacked by a shark. It happened in Atlantic Beach, North Carolina. Officials say one of the 17-year-old's legs was nearly bitten off in the attack. She also suffered deep cuts to her hands and pelvis and was flown to a trauma center by helicopter.
The whistles were blown, everyone was screaming, and they quickly got everybody out of the water.
On any given day, the ocean can be a dangerous atmosphere. It always can be a dangerous environment.
The teen is said to be in good condition. A hospital statement calls her an advocate for marine life who's hoping people will respect sharks in their environment.
Former NBA star Dwayne Wade was a surprise graduation speaker yesterday at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
Wade also visited the school after last year's campus shooting that ended in the deaths of 14 students and 3 staff members. Yesterday, he called himself part of the school's family and ended his speech with the words, MSD strong. And a spectacular display from Europe's most active and tallest volcano, Mount Etna, spewing lava, as you see there, and ash that's lighting up the night sky in southern Italy. The 700,000-year-old volcano started roaring early Friday morning. Scientists say there's no threat to the people living nearby, and the airport is still open. The last eruption was about 6 months ago.
And coming up, new questions about the mass shooting in Virginia Beach.
Shots fired, second floor. Going up the steps.
What police say the gunman did just before the carnage as we learn about the hero office worker who laid down his life to save his colleagues. We turn now to the aftermath of the deadly mass shooting in Virginia Beach. Officials there say they want to focus on the 12 victims of the attack instead of on the gunman.
One of them is Ryan Keith Cox. His colleagues say Cox told them to hide inside an office and barricade the door while he went out to try to help others. Cox was among those who were honored at a vigil last night in Virginia Beach. ABC's Serena Marshall joined us with the new details on the investigation. Serena, good morning.
Janae, Will, good morning. And from that first 911 call to 4 brave police officers ending that rampage, it was 36 minutes of terror. Friends and families, though, now remembering the lives lost.
12 lives lost, 12 victims remembered. Hundreds of people gathering to remember the 7 men, 5 women murdered at their work by their longtime colleague.
They leave a void that we will never be able to fill.
Candace Rauch trying to make sense of the loss of her friend, Lakita Brown, who had worked for the city for 4.5 years.
Knowing that when I go there that I won't run into her anymore. That's going to be the hardest part.
At the building, a memorial stands as we learn new details about the timeline. Officers arriving just 2 minutes after the first 911 call, but navigating through a maze of hallways in what's described as a honeycomb-type building. 10 minutes later, they find and engage the suspect, later identified as city employee Dwayne Craddock.
Still actively hearing gunshots.
A prolonged gunfight ensues, the suspect carrying 2 handguns, extended magazines, and a silencer.
Officer hit! Officer hit!
36 minutes after that first call, officers busting through a door, taking him down. He later died at the hospital.
Right now, we do not have anything glaring.
They are still searching for a motive. The 15-year city employee handing in his resignation just hours prior. Colleagues searching for answers.
He briefly made eye contact with me, but did not point the gun at me.
The FBI has now taken the lead in the investigation, and authorities say they are still gathering evidence as 4 victims remain hospitalized in critical care. Will, Janae?
A big thanks to Serena Marshall this morning. Well, let's lighten things up a bit and check our notifications, starting with the apple not falling far from the tree.
Yeah, Beyonce, the queen, and her 7-year-old daughter, Blue Ivy, sporting matching outfits over the weekend, inspired by Mom's upcoming movie, The Lion King.
But Blue Ivy, of course, really stole the show with her sing-along of the Disney Classics hit song, Circle of Life, shared on Instagram by the queen herself. And a reminder, of course, that Disney is the parent company of ABC News. Gosh, we love Blue Ivy. Well, next to the father-daughter video that's melting hearts this morning.
Yeah, Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson, he's known for getting knocked around on the gridiron, taking a lot of hits.
But over the weekend, Wilson shared this clip of himself taking a ballet class alongside his 2-year-old daughter, Sienna. She was the only one in a pink tutu, but the NFL powerhouse dad was still totally committed from the stretching exercises you see there to eventually curling up and taking a little nap.
The quarterback captioned the video, quote, "Special bond morning ballet with my baby girl."
So precious. Well, now to a rude wake-up call for a Tennessee couple. We're not sure why, how they fell asleep on the road, but woke up pretty quickly.
Yeah, so a sheriff's deputy drove up, saw a rattlesnake. Yep, a rattlesnake right next to the couple. He calmly approached them and warned them,
"Don't move. There's a rattlesnake right next to you. Go toward me. Go toward me."
Well, I can't repeat what I said, but it's kind of a shocking event. I mean, you think you see everything in this profession, and then you see something like that.
Go toward me.
Yeah, so the sheriff said the couple didn't exactly follow the deputy's instructions, but things turned out okay, apparently.
Yeah.
And Janae, Tony Soprano's home, if you're looking for a place to live, it's for sale.
The New Jersey house that served as the fictional mob boss's home in the iconic HBO series is on the market. But as you can imagine, that house will cost you.
Yeah, the 5,600 square foot, 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath property going for $3.4 million. The owners say they don't need it anymore because their adult son moved out years ago.
But the pool's still there.
We should pool our money.
And we would still fall short. Coming up, President Trump joining a long list of U.S. presidents welcomed by Queen Elizabeth.
We'll take a look back in the ABC News vault at the special relationship between the two countries after this.
Here's what to watch out for today. Top officials from the U.S. and Mexico hold talks on trade and immigration after President Trump announced a 5% tariff on Mexican imports to pressure Mexico into stopping illegal immigration.
And Apple's annual Worldwide Developer Conference opens today, and after 18 years, the company is expected to close down iTunes. According to multiple reports, the download service is going to be replaced by 3 separate apps for music, TV, and podcasts. Apple reportedly wants to rebrand itself as an entertainment service instead of as a hardware company. And the Supreme Court justices convene today and could release their final opinions on several cases, including issues of racial and partisan gerrymandering and the possibility of including a citizenship question on the 2020 census.
Plus, don't forget to tune into the debrief for an update on all our top stories and the briefing room for a breakdown of the latest headlines in politics.
The president will be making history as he's greeted by Queen Elizabeth in the UK, like so many other presidents before him, 8 to be exact. So we're opening up the ABC News vault and looking back at just a few of those visits.
At a glittering formal dinner at Windsor Castle, both the President and the Queen spoke of the unity between their two nations. The President said in the cause of world peace. The Queen said in the Falkland Islands crisis. There was no talk of ineptitude or division.
To Anglo-American friendship and to the prosperity and happiness of the people of the United States.
British television commentators said this dinner was certain to be the high point of the President's visit to England.
The Bushes' next stop was Buckingham Palace, where the Queen and Prince Philip were waiting outside to greet them. She, though, apparently didn't know that only the Secret Service opens the doors on the presidential limousine. There was a bit of royal irritation at the palace footman, who seemed to be leaving the First Lady in the car. "Open it," she said. It was only a momentary hitch, though, and the visit seemed to go well thereafter. Later, the Clintons met the Queen and Prince Philip aboard the royal yacht at Portsmouth, where the D-Day invasion was launched. The weather today matched the stormy conditions of this day 50 years ago, when rough seas caused the invasion to be put off one more day.
The president's first full day in London was filled with pomp and protocol. Tonight, a state dinner at Buckingham Palace. Earlier, a 41-gun salute and a welcoming ceremony fit for a queen.
At last night's state dinner hosted by Queen Elizabeth, there was the usual pomp and pageantry. Then, in the middle of the president's toast,
to Her Majesty the Queen, to the vitality of the special relationship.
The orchestra mistakenly played the British national anthem, God Save the Queen, before the president was done. He forged on undeterred by the unexpected musical accompaniment.
This realm, this England, to the Queen.
And of course, we'll all be closely watching this week as the president is there with all the usual pomp and circumstance, plus, of course, the protest and controversy.
Be an interesting one.
That's it from us.
Have a great morning.
See ya.
Hi everyone, George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.